Have you ever met a patient who just keeps talking? Even before you ask anything, they start explaining everything: their symptoms, their family, their past, their emotions, all at once. And even when you try to guide the consultation, they continue almost as if they are not talking with you, but talking at you. Now, if you observe carefully, this is not just communication. This is a deep inner need to not feel alone. And that is exactly the state of Heather. Heather is one of the Bach remedies addressing emotional imbalance, specifically the inability to remain alone. All three are lonely: water violet, impatience, and Heather, but for very different reasons. Heather is lonely because it cannot tolerate being alone, whereas water violet withdraws himself and impatience get irritated with others. The core theme of Heather is not simply talkativeness. Many people talk a lot, but Heather is different. Here, the talking is driven by a constant need for company. There is discomfort in silence, and even more discomfort in being alone. So they feel that silence with words. They feel that emptiness with conversation. But the key point is the conversation is not mutual, it is one sided. How is the personality of the patients requiring Heather? They are talkative, attention seeking, emotionally dependent, self centered. They dominate the conversations, not intentionally, but compulsively. By outer perspective, the Heather patients are talkative and engaging, but if we see the inner thing of the patient, they are insecure and lonely. Externally, Heather patients appear very social. They seem friendly, expressive, and communicative. But internally, there is something very different happening. There is insecurity, emotional emptiness. There is subtle fear of facing themselves. So, what do? They continuously engage with others, not to connect, but to avoid their own inner silence. This difference between outer behavior and inner state is extremely important in remedy selection. In OPD, these patients can be quite challenging. You may notice that they don't allow you to complete your questions. They jump from one topic to another. They repeat details again and again. And most importantly, they don't really listen. Even if you give advice, they may immediately shift back to their own narrative. This is a key clinical clue because here the goal is not communication, the goal is being heard continuously. How is the mental state of the patients requiring Heather? There is fear of being alone. They feel anxiety in silence. They are self concerned, self centered. Silence is uncomfortable for them. Now we will see that how the physical state of the ether patients we find when the patient come to us. There is fatigue and nervous tension. It's often due to constant mental activity. Dr. Batch quote, he says, those who are always seeking companionship. It directly describes the need for constant company. Heather patients are self-centered, needs audience always. They talk at people, not with them. Now you see one short case of Heather patients. Let's take a simple clinical scenario. A patient comes to you, but instead of answering your questions, they start narrating everything in detail. They talk about their complaints, their relationships, their past experience, all in one flow. Even after consultation, they may call you again, not necessarily for medical advice, but just to talk. Now, if you look superficially, this may seem like anxiety or emotional disturbance, but if you go deeper, you will see that you will see that the real issue is inability to remain alone with oneself, and that is ether. What rubrics we can consider of when we think of ether? Talkativeness, desire for company, fear of being alone. These are the clear guiding symptoms for ether. So, what is the case summary? It's like for the patient of requiring ether, they need attention, cannot stay alone, talks excessively. The key is dependence, not sociability. We may wrongly take it as sociability of the patients, but they are dependent. They can't face their loneliness, and that is why they talk continuously. Repertory rubrics. 3 mark symptoms: talkativeness, company desire for, and fear alone. Now we will differentiate ether with other bachelor remedies. Ether clings, water violet withdraws, and impatience react due to the irritability. What is the cause behind clinging? Because there is a need to avoid their loneliness. They talk excess. In water violet, patient requires a distance. That is why they talk minimal and withdraws. And in case of impatience, there is irritation. Therefore, they function on their own. It is a functional irritation and they react, right? Differentiation within the loneliness group is really very important. Ether seeks people and clings to them. Water violet avoids people and maintains the distance. Impatience tolerates people poorly and reacts with irritation. So all three are alone, but their relationship with others is completely different. This is where most prescribing mistakes happen. When we only see loneliness but not the pattern of response to it. Now we will differentiate ether with homeopathic medicines. Pulsatilla seeks sympathy. Lycosis is talkative, intense. Ignatia has emotional grief. Ether is self-centered, talking. Okay? Now, when we compare with homeopathic remedies, Pulsatilla also seeks company, but there is softness, dependence, and need for support. Lachesis is talkative but intense, expressive, and often driven by the inner pressure. Ignatia is emotional but more internalized with grief and contradictions. Heather, however, is different. The talking is not emotional depth, it is self preoccupation. They are not sharing, they are occupying space with their own narrative. That distinction is very critical. So, what is the cause behind the whatever sign and symptoms Heather patient shows? They escapes themselves through the talking. There is fear of self and there is emotional emptiness. Miasm. What is the miasm of these patients? It's psychotic. They show dependence pattern. Now, what combinations we can use? We can use heather with chicory, red chestnut, and it is useful in emotional dependency cases. Now, how we can predict the action or how we can see the action of ether on patients? We can see patients is the patient is developing inner stability after ether. Patient become more emotional independent after the ether. The action of ether is quite beautiful. It does not just suppress the communication, it does not make the person silent. Instead, it brings the inner balance. The person becomes capable of listening to others, being comfortable in silence, enjoying their own company. So the change is not from talkative to silent, but from the dependent to independent. So what changes we can see before heater and after heater in patient? The clingy patients become more balanced, talkative patients become more calm and quiet, and dependence converts to independence. Transformation is very significant. We can see in a patients after heater. What are the dosage? 4 to 6 pills, 3 to 5 times, or 4 drops 4 times. It's a standard dose, which is a very safe and gentle, but it should be always taken with the guidance of professional doctor or practitioner. Now, what mistakes we can do while thinking of heater or while missing the heater? Uh, all talkative patients are not heater. Whenever talkative patient come, we just mistake it for the heater and we give the ether, so it's a big mistake. We have to check the motive of talking of the patient. Clinical poll. Always check, is patient talking to you or at you? Here is one of the most important clinical pearls. Ask yourself if the patient is talking to me or talking at me. If the patient is engaging in two-way interactions, it's not heather. But if the patient is continuously speaking without space for you, without interest in your response, then you are likely dealing with heather. Now, summary. What is the summary of heather? From need, they go towards the excessive talkativeness. What is the need? Need to avoid their emptiness, loneliness, fear. They become excessive talkative, and from talkative, they become more dependent of being in touch with some or the other person who will listen to them, because they are not in a situation to listen others, but they want someone to listen to them continuously. Okay, this video is for educational purpose only. We should not self-medicate ourselves from these videos. We should always seek guidance of practitioner for the use of Bach Flower medicines. So if you liked this video, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.